Um, Randall Cottrell. The best way to say it is I have a company that we focus really on aviation, but we do engineering for the Air Force. So we do logistics and media support for the Army, and we build our own drones, and we have a drone school as well, and opening up an aircraft mechanic school. And father of 5, husband to 1, and just trying to walk it out holy and live life to the fullest.
Oh my God. I'm Crystal Cottrell, his wife. Mother of 5, all 5. Just finished law school. And right now I'm at home until I pass the bar. So getting ready for that.
Good.
I'm Courtney Winbush. I am a fulfillment project manager for a nonprofit startup. And I also do some freelance work for the American Heart Association. And that's it. No children yet, but they're coming.
Okay.
I'm Tyson Jones. I work in aviation, director of sales for repairs, coating repairs. I have no kids. Had the same job for over 18 years. I have 2 podcasts starting up. One with another guy and one by myself, just kind of tuning in with men, trying to get there, trying to give them a different perspective of things.
Wonderful.
And this is my fiance.
So we have one married couple and one engaged couple. So if you could tell us, the two of you, how you met, how long you've been together, what has marriage taught you thus far, and as far as you, same questions but pertaining to engagement.
Want to pick up?
Yes.
You go, kid.
No, you can say
Yeah. All right. We met in Montgomery, Alabama, at a church, and we've been around each other since we were kids. Both our parents, our fathers were like deacons or something like that.
Yeah.
And we just kind of passed by each other for many, many years. And I don't know if she'd like to tell this, but she was really, really kind to me. A lot of people were mean to me growing up. I don't know why, but she was really kind to me. And she was my first kiss, who was like 13, and it was at church. Classes, but we saw each other again in college. Now I was looking for her because I heard she was in the same college, so I was trying to find her. I found your dorm room, but I didn't know you were not there. But I did. I hung out with the pretty people across the hall, hoping I would see you. You see what I'm saying? So, but I never saw her. But then she came I had a job. She came, and we saw each other at the salon. It just came together. It came together. It was pretty cool. Yeah, would you add a little something to
Something to it. So I guess when we in college, I ran into him. He was working at the rock climbing wall at UAB, and he was working the rock wall, and he was trying to help me. And
Well, she came with some short shorts on. Then got on the wall.
Just the water.
Got on the wall. That couldn't go up the wall, so I helped her up the wall. Felt her up the wall.
no, but we got together then, and we've been together ever since. It's been what? It'll be 19 years in December.
Oh yeah, we've been for 20.
Yeah, we've been together for a long time.
But she said we didn't break up when we were kids. That she saw me, she was like, "Well, I cheated on you. I'm so sorry." Yeah, I guess we were meant to be together. So I believe this is my first and last kiss. And what was the other question you asked? You asked me the question.
Just what have the marriage so far been to you?
What you say, Taylor?
Oh, I think it's been pretty good. It's almost 20 years, 5 kids. It's been, I guess, cliche would be an adventure, but literally, like, he started when we first got married. He started working, quit his job after 6 months, and he started a business right after that. And so, like, that process of trying to start a business, having kids, because we started early. I was 21. When was I 21 or 22? I don't know. It was somewhere around there.
22.
Yeah. And but we started having them back to back. It was just I don't know, to get here now and to be where we are now, I would say it's been a lovely process. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's been e I don't know. You hear everything about marriage, and then some of the bad stuff you heard, it happens. From the good stuff you hear, it happens. Um, but it's been a really incredible journey. I definitely would not wanna have tried to live to this age alone. So, marriage has been I think it was worth the wait, and it was worth staying in, and then trying to try. I think we're at the point now where like, man, we gotta make the most of it. Can't just be married. No, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it doesn't work. So yeah, we're trying to really enhance and maximize it, enjoy each other.
I'll let you go through.
So we met online on this dating app called Black. It was just, for Black people. And we started talking on there like October of 2020. And so it was during COVID. Everybody's looking for something to do. And our first date was on Halloween that year, and we went to Hooters. First date. He's like, meet me at Hooters.
So the whole situation.
And I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, so we go to Hooters. Met him at Hooters. And it was cool. It was a vibe from the start. Like, he had good conversation. He's very intelligent, and I love talking to people, who like kind of stimulate my mind or whatever. And he was doing that, and he wasn't paying attention to the Hooters girl. So I was like, okay. Um, from there, we dated. We didn't start dating seriously until like maybe the next year. And from there, we we were kind of like on and off again. Like, we would talk, and then like I had some issues happening with my home, so I wasn't at home, and we didn't really see each other because he lived in Addiston at the time, and I'm down in Trussville, so we were about an hour away from each other. We weren't seeing each other as much, so I was like, oh, he's not really that interested. And then I don't know what happened. What changed it for you?
Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess you can kind of say we weren't really dating seriously in 2021 either.
Mm.
Um, it was probably in 2022, late 2022, I would say. You know, we went places together, did things together, and I remember she invited me to it was the Dinner on Blanc, and she didn't ask for, I didn't know it cost, and she had everything set up, the food, everything, and she never asked for a dime. Yeah, I did take her to Hooters, but for me, and I definitely would have done it differently. I probably would have took her to a coffee shop, somewhere where we could get to know each other, not how much money you can spend on a date. But she accepted that. Uh, we really never been back again.
Never.
Uh, but at that point, at, after dating and being in relationships,
That's
and
insane.
I'd want somebody that was going to be here for me, not what I bring. So yeah, her Christmas present, it was a small Christmas present that I got her, and hers was much larger than what I had gotten for her. But I think just things start, lining up where like, okay, she does this, and I felt comfortable around her. So, when things come natural, and, I look through, and, iron sharpens iron, and she challenged me to things as I challenged her, and we bounced ideas off each other. And I think it's to a extent where we want to make each other better.
Love that. So what you were saying, Tyson, and then also Rondo, did you want to test to see if your woman first was materialistic and just wanted to make things simple at first to see how she would react to the first date? With a lot of the Black women are very conscious of how much a man makes and his money and his worth. Did you have to put that test in to make sure she wasn't one of those handed?
It I wouldn't say it was so much of a test. It was, so much of a choosing of where I wanted to take her. Looking back on that, Hooters probably was not the ideal choice because it's loud in there. Okay. And I have to do it over again, so it's loud. But, if I had to do it again, I'd take her somewhere more quiet so we could sit down and talk in front of each other or face to face. But, yeah, I mean, I can't say it was a test, but I wanted to, uh, go through and, go through that first part of just generally dating just to see how she was and get to know her and get to know, what her motive was in dating me, whether it's, she just wanted to casually date or she wanted to date with a purpose.
Okay. All right. Gee.
For me, I saw her grow up, and you know, our families. My dad sold the shares. Her dad sold the share. They both get all the went to the church. We both went broke at the same time, and he. So, so like I saw. I mean, she was from the country, and I think we finally went on our first date to real. We were in college. I took her to Buffalo Wild Wings, so not that far booze. Much better choice.
Very
But, I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and that was a basic, basic situation. I never really felt like she cared about money, and even as we progressed, like she cared about little stuff, low acid, no pulp orange juice. A bottle of that was meaningful. She worked at Domino's Pizza, so good pizza was meaningful. It take a whole lot. I will say the last few years, I'm not gonna say I tested it, but I tried to inject money and material into the marriage and see what, and then, okay, what's gonna happen. And I think one time I tried to call her out about money, and I never did it again. She's frugal, easy to please. Um, I'm not saying her tastes have changed. Like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, let me. I got a call. She was in Vegas. She was like, "It's a Fendi purse." All right, we're there. Okay. Hi, it's $2,000. Okay, I can. All right, we could do for you. I mean, the tastes have changed, but it's not definitely. I didn't need to test it. No, I didn't even test it. I just had to keep up with her progressive taste.
Super Chris. So for the ladies, choosing a man big money have anything to do with who you deciding to park? Or was it about stability? What he was bringing to the dates? What was it that did finances really play a part in your decision making? Cool.
Yeah. It was stability. Like, I knew what I wanted out of life. Like, I had, like, my future life envisioned. And, like, coming from my family, I come from a very family-oriented family. Like, both parents in the household, that's all I saw. And I saw, like, the type of man that my dad was. So, like, naturally, he, like, "Don't bring no fool around here." So, like, I dated intentionally with my dad, always in the back of my mind, like, "Oh, I can't talk to you. You don't have it together." And he had it together. And, like, as a, like, byproduct of it, financially stable, that's great. But, like, having, like, some type of sense about yourself, like, knowing what you want out of life, having, foresight is what I saw with him. And some of the other people that I dated before, they also had those same qualities, but his just stood out, like, way more. But, like, if I was, like, like, younger when we used to go out all the time, like, the guys that you would, pass by, is like, "Okay, no, I can't bring him home because Sam is gonna have a fit." Yeah. But, yeah.
Um, so it wasn't money wasn't a factor, because for us, we met at what, 21? I was 21, he was 23. No, we got married then. So he was 22. We were in college. So clearly, for me, it was more about like, is he like stability? But for me, it was midget. Like the first thing I looked at was how he was dressed. If he was dressed with back then, it was tall tees and all that jabot jeans. No,
Right.
you know. But he was dressed, like properly. I mean, I wanted somebody who was gonna be a man for me and not and that I could see in my future. And he was also really driven. My dad is a entrepreneur and had his own insurance business, and I saw that in him. He was doing, I think, car audio.
That's person.
Yeah. And I heard about that. I was like, oh, he's driven. Okay. So I'm looking at
Think about me before we saw each other again.
what when we were dating, I was thinking about those things that factored. You heard about, but it's um I don't know. I just felt, and then he knew God, and I wanted a family that was centered in God. I knew if that was a priority, um, then I knew that I would be good ultimately. So that was my factor, I guess, when I was choosing him or choosing him. That's either way. Either way.
Now, the current stigma is currently what do women bring to the table? There are some prerequisites that you require of what your woman should bring to the table? Randall?
You have some blood, mate. Um, I I had a business since I was like 19, and I knew I I wanted somebody strong, yeah, and somebody who wanted something other than to just exist. I felt like when you grow up in the church, you exist in church. That you're just there, no identity. You're not taught about though. All you taught about is God. You just God, 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 God. And you're going to hell. Apparently, we're definitely going to hell every day. You know what I'm saying? No matter. You laugh, you're going to hell. You know what I'm saying? Look at the girl, you're going to hell. Everything is just going to hell. So um, I started to discover in myself that I wanted a lot more. I wanted to see more, I wanted to do more, wanted to have more. And I did want somebody, my primary thing was be kind to me. But one of my big things, a big driver was like, I want to, I really want to live a life that's more than just showing up. And to do that, you got to have something in you that drives you. You got to have some motivation. And I knew she was normal. I knew that she stood out. Even to this day, I can look back at all the people in our church, and she's gone farther than all of them. So I'm like, yeah, I needed somebody who had some more drive and wanted something else other than just as this. So she definitely had that. Even working in Domino's, that was impressive to me. She went, I'm gonna be a manager. I'm gonna bake the best pizzas in the world. And I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? That's more than just existence. So big deal to me. Yeah.
I mean, kind of the same here. Despite what some people think, make as much money as you can. In general, we don't care so much about money. We care about mindset, and that's what attracted me to her is her mindset and how she treated me. She was nice. She's very feminine within herself. With that, if I need to be told, she can still get me told in a feminine manner. I always revert back to Coming to America when at the end where the queen checked the king, and she checked in the most feminine way when he was saying that it was tradition. But same here. I just I like that her mindset. She had direction. She was intelligent. Um, she spoke about things that she wanted to do. She had goals that she wanted to accomplish. You know, like me, she come from a 2-parent household where her dad spoiled her. So it kind of it's hurting me now because she's used to a lot of the things that we do now. But also with her dad and the bond that they share, she know what she wanted within a man and how she wanted to treat a man, and that went a long way with me.
So the common thing, like you hear it is 2-parent household, and neither of you brought other children into the relationship. So you two don't have any children, and the 5 that you have, you had together, no one else. So how do you think culturally as a people that has affected us with the ratio 80% single parent household and our deficit in marriage with your backgrounds? Can you see how that could have affected you if you didn't have what you had?
I would tell you when people ask me how many kids I had, I say 5. How many babies mamas? Like, let's do. I'm like 1. And he's shocked. They're shocked. So I'm like, okay, that to me that's now the norm. And when they don't ask, I'm like, oh, you're not gonna ask me how many baby mamas I have because it's so much. It's just you got 5 kids, how many baby mamas? I'm like, I just got 1. I don't want more than 1.
A wife.
Yeah, I'm just married, and that's it. But the culture, for what I have seen, points to you must have some kids. I mean, and I'll be honest, like I would assume that one of y'all had kids
Mhm.
because at your age and your space in life, you've already lived some. You know what I mean? Done some stuff you want to do. You probably got some kids somewhere. So that culture has rubbed off, on me. I'm so used to it now that you can't do it the way it was done before. You must have drama because I call it drama. You must have some outside drama or some, something somewhere that shows that you can't be with one person. This is weird now. Weird. It's uncomfortable actually to talk about having kids as a black man. Yeah. Now a white guy says it. Nobody asks a question. I've been there. You know what I'm saying? White guy, he got 5 kids. Oh, that's great. Well, we have 5. They're like, oh, you must have a lot of women. No, no.
Right.
So yeah, that's what it's like for me. It's not cool.
Um, I don't know. I just think that with how society is now, it's for us as African Americans, it is different. I know you had mentioned earlier we were talking about how a lot of men, or especially black men, are incarcerated. The ones who do have kids end up not being able to be a part of their children's lives, and then those women end up moving on or not. And that plays a big factor, in black households. But for me, I grew up with my mom and dad, and my aunts and uncles are all married. They stayed married. I recently had an uncle that got a divorce, and I was like, you know, in shock because that's not what I've seen in my space. And so I think it's just when you have first God and then you have a family who have seen marriages and stayed together up until like my aunt just passed. And my uncle, um, if the way he loved her, it was crazy. And my aunt, she was in the hospital consistently, and he was always there. He was always taking care of her. Even till this day, I'm just like, my heart is broken for him because that was his heart. Like, he lost some of his, you know? But that's what I saw growing up. So for me, even when it gets hard, even when it's not, easy, even though, times when we're stressed and we just like, I don't know how we're gonna make it. I look at thinking about my uncle, I don't know if that happened to me, that's my heart. He's my heart. I don't know what I would do, you know? And I just feel like we've been married that long. It's shock. But I don't know. I just feel like we're so connected. I just don't know what I mean, like, he's the first person. If it ain't Jesus, I'm calling my husband. That's how it is, you know?
Yes.
Wonderful. I would say the same. Like, grew up with everybody in our family was married. We were in church 24/7, and it was don't have any kids until you get married. So it was just kind of like beat into you. So I've only dated one person who had kids. Everybody else Like it was, I would say that's kind of like a prerequisite. Like it was a prerequisite for me. Like, do you have kids? How many kids you got? But I've only dated one person who had, he had one child at the time, and I don't really, I don't know. We were never really serious. But when we started dating, Tyson and I was like, okay, he doesn't have any kids at the time. I think you were like 30,
39,
39, 30. No,
38. Wait.
yeah, he was still in his 30s. His birthday was just the other day. Well, Friday, late birthday. But yeah, he didn't have any children, so I was like, okay, that's a plus. I think for me though, coming into a situation where somebody already has, children, and then I'm trying to figure out like where I fit in, and selfishly wanting to, have children with my husband, and I'd be, the first person he has a child with, is like something that I just always wanted. And I think, like, if you have an established relationship, and I see a lot of people who are able to co-parent very well, but then you see a lot of people, especially in the Black community, that co-parent, or there's no existence of co-parenting. And it's normally a tumultuous situation. It's toxic. And then the kids grow up in, that toxic environment. And then they are conditioned to think, okay, this is what life is supposed to be like. So when they go out and get their mate, that's what they're expecting. They're not expecting anything, above that. So just didn't want that for myself.
Uh, yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to say I hate the term baby mama or baby daddy because I think it's derogatory. Even if it is your ex, I think you should, that's my ex that I have a child with. And we as Black people are the ones who first start using that term. Um, um, I do think, a blended family can work. I do think, kids coming into young ladies, young men can get, from a broken or a one parent household can do it. It's just, it's a lot harder. It's harder because, whether you had the father in the home or the mother in the home, you need to have that balance. And for most of us, my mom, uh, she wanted to just love on me and give me that soft love. When my dad, I grew up on a farm, so like he had me working, no matter what extracurricular activities, what he called it, football, working or whatever. I need to do the housework, and I can remember at times where she stand outside when she think he's pushing me too hard. She never would say nothing, but she'll stand outside, push me too hard, but she wanted to kind of supervise because she had that tender love for me. So I think, people, being raised in a single parent household miss that. Uh, Also, being in church, you know, uh, I think as Christians going through the walks of life, men, coming from kids to teenagers to young adults to adults, sometimes we waver. And I always use the expression with the toys, the wobble toys where you can hit them, they go down. But as long as you have that foundation, you'll pop back up eventually. No, no matter what it is, whether it's something in life, your mate, you're only gonna stay down for so long and you're gonna pop back up. But yeah, I mean having, both my parents was very beneficial. Um, I my parents were a blended family. They both had a kid coming into it. Uh, when both of my parents were deceased. And, they had some rocky times as well. But I think my dad, he got the confirmation that he'd been wanting before my mom died. She said he was a good man. He was there. He had his family watching over her as she was dying. And I could appreciate that. And then when my dad died, he left my sister that wasn't biologically his, the executive of our will, because he loved her. He never referred to her as his stepdaughter. He referred to her as his daughter. And like I'm like you, my uncles and aunts were all married. And for a while, I didn't know that one of them was not biological. I just thought they were just my uncle and aunt. It wasn't until, later on I realized, but yeah, I mean, grow up in that family structure, it helps.
So I recently had someone to tell me that if they had sons, they would possibly tell them not to get married until they're 50. what as a man would you say as far as that, as a black man particularly, is it waiting that's makes your relationship more successful, or getting married younger is that more so of a benefit as a man?
I mean, I take off, he moved to, it's that verse, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Okay, that's pretty basic. I want that sooner than later. And the culture saying, let's wait, it just goes against what I was taught and what I saw. If I look at it from like a Christian worldview, it goes against it. If I look at it from secular worldview, it goes against it, because everybody that I've ever seen be successful, they stand with somebody. You know what I mean? And to go 50 years, well, I don't want to get married. Why not? I got to ask what? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to smash everybody you can before you want to settle down? Because they make it about, the culture has made it about you trying to find the right one. But in reality, you trying to run through enough of them to where you're tired now and you got to get Viagra, give you going. Now you can focus on a relationship. I'm just being real. Like, I feel like that's the goal, is to keep as much of yourself to yourself.
Selfish.
Yeah, it's definitely selfish. And for society to push it, well, ain't no good women out there. There's plenty of good women out there. But something y'all were saying earlier about knowing what you want, knowing who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, when you aimless, you running around aimless with other aimless people. And y'all will end them together, realizing that neither one of y'all want commitment because you don't know why you're here. And therefore, let's wait. We're going to just live first. I'd much rather live with my wife and experience this world with her than with random people and no attachment and leaving wakes and trauma and babies behind.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. A lot of times men, it takes them a while longer to mature. Where women, they mature much earlier. Um, and the world says wait, because from the time of birth they say a woman holds the advantages to dating. She's born with her beauty, and a man, of course, he has no money. He has no maturity. Most times at that age. But however, when a man waits and he matures, it gets harder to find that woman he want, because now these women that he's seeking after so long, getting older, they have been beat up by the world. They've been cheated on. They've been misused. So now, a lot of times, they meet these women and truly have not healed, and they come into a relationship and the woman takes this book back off her back, say, here, hold this. That's my baggage. And the same thing with men. So I do think, when you meet somebody young and that's the one, 100% say, go ahead and, you do what you need to do to keep that woman, secure her, marry her, and form a family with her. I mean, for years, that's what our ancestors did. People have before us, and the stats show of how we're doing it nowadays, it's not working. I mean, that's statistical. It's not working in today's life. And when you marry young, you don't have all these prerequisites, of a man got to make this much or a woman got to do this. And, you marry at that point for love and growth. And you grow together. So, I mean, I'd be the first to say, at 20, I don't think like I did at 28. At 28, I don't think like I did at 35. And even at 35, I don't think like I do now at 42. So, yeah. You grow, but you want to have somebody that you can grow together, have that foundation to build off of. You're going to change some, but as long as you're changing together, you still accepting one another and growing together.
And this is for the ladies, because we know that independent, strong Black woman slogan. Has that your relationship made you less than, or made you say, I can't be independent, or I can't be strong, or that I should work? How has your relationship fit that narrative?
Crystal.
No. Well, when we first got married, I had my first son. He did not want me to work. And at that point I'm the oldest of 6. So I was like, I'm ready to go to work. I had got an interview, I'm ready to go. And he was like, babe, I really want you to be there for our son. I want you to care for my child or our child. And I was like, okay. And so I thought it through. And the day I was supposed to go in, I called the guy. I was like, I can't go. My husband wants me to be here. And so from that, we had 5 kids. So clearly I didn't go to work. Anytime after that, I was popping babies out left and right. And right after my youngest, I got my real estate license because he knew my personality. My dad was an entrepreneur. I'm always thinking about, oh, let's do this, let's do that. And I like doing things with my hands. I like producing things. It makes me happy. We spoke that makes me happy. Like I like seeing something happen that I build and like, oh yeah. So once we got to a point where my baby was in kindergarten and he was like, babe, whatever you want to do. So got my real estate license. I went to law school. I was doing everything. And in the middle of having kids, I did go back to college. So I did online classes, but I tried to do things that could accommodate because I understood where he was coming from. I wanted to make sure my child had the best care, that was loved on and grew up in with, godly rules and direction. And so that's what I did. And it just worked out for us. I'm back where we left off years and years ago. That never left, but I was able to see it from his perspective. And, I mean, I didn't get married to lead myself. And so I trusted him. I trusted that he had my best interest. And so he just wanted to take care of everything. And I wasn't too mad about that. So yeah, it just worked out.
I think for me, like I would say that I was very independent before meeting Tyson. I just always wanted to do things myself, and I had to when I moved out on my own, I was like, okay, I don't want to go back home, so I'm gonna have to figure all this out on my own. And even though my parents are very supportive, I just didn't want to have to go back. And I think sometimes in our relationship, especially earlier on, like where we were having some bumps, it was just because I felt the need to just handle it myself without like letting him know what was going on. Because that's just how I was wired, because before he came around, I just had to depend on Courtney and like letting my guard down and like trusting him to like take care and or to guide and lead is something that I had to learn how to do. And like, it would piss him off to no end, like, if he was left out of something and it could be something, like, household related or anything that's just going on, behind the scenes because I was just so used to just doing it myself. And I think that's something that I'm still learning right now, like, my independence, like, you have to, like, let it go a little, but, like, at the end of the day, I do feel like, I'm built myself into a strong woman, but I also have to like, okay, sit back for a second, Courtney, because now you have somebody that, you pray for somebody that's gonna be a leader, who's gonna be able to, guide your family. And he's here and it's like you're still trying to drive the car when you need to be just, trying to like maybe help a little bit. So
Yeah, yeah, I think two things can be true at once. I think a woman can be strong, independent, but also be in her feminine energy and work as a team with a man. Because, I think that word for a woman is so misconstrued about being independent. Uh, and they always go back to the women before their time. Well, those exact women were independent but feminine, and they worked as a team with their husbands or, significant partners. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like. There were times when she took the lead Like when I was trying to figure out business, she started doing demos, little food demos at Whole Foods and Winn Dixie and anywhere. And I can never look back at that and go, oh, I hate that she was independent. Really, she wasn't independent. She was doing what was necessary to keep our household running. And when you have a business, sometimes that has to happen. I mean, I remember asking Martell, he was working for the state, trying to build a business. Like, what the heck are you doing, man? When are you gonna just do this? And I thought about the fact that, like, wait a minute, it's gotta be put together. And it takes a very special couple to do that. It's not normal, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I mean, I have met women who are so independent that they drive people away.
Yeah.
And not even suitors.
Yeah.
Yeah. They believe in the idea of independence that so much that you can't even work with them. You know what I mean? You can't even function with them. But I mean, I think that's a cultural thing. I think that's a past hurt thing. I think it's what they saw their mom do. But I honestly, I really like an independent man or independent woman. You can't, you know what I mean? Like I don't need you. You don't need me. Then what we talk about?
Yeah.
What's the point of being together?
Yeah, and I'll also say, by nature, when a man is in his own, he's independent, he's driving. When he meets a woman, he want to take as much burden off her hands. That's us by nature. Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. That's why we have thicker eyebrows, bigger noses, from beginning the time we're hunters and gatherers. So, but with that, I mean, I'm like him. Being a leader doesn't mean that I'm supposed to lead in everything.
Right.
There's some things she gonna take the lead in that I, some that she's better at skilled or at knowledge. There's some things I'm gonna lean on her. And there's some things she's gonna lean on me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's like that's to the point where I was saying earlier about iron sharp as iron. So when you're going through that, you bounce things off of each other. And that's part about making each other better.
Mhm.
So your women are beautiful, elegant, classy, but the stereotype is that the freak in the sheets. So how big is the balance of having a woman that is modest, walking, and then something else with it? How big of a factor does that play in keeping your relationship balanced?
I'll go again. We have conversations about what she wears sometimes. And when she feels like she can respect me and I'm leading the household well, those conversations go with us. She's like, okay, I'll change. And I've also noticed that when we have those conversations, she values that input. But she knows that I care about how she looks when she goes outside. I don't want any other man to look at her, or you know what I mean, and feel like, oh, she's dressed like that because she's open for business. You know what I mean, or she's available. So yeah, I like her to be beautiful. I like her to be expressive when she's out. The outfit she has on, I saw it, my jaw dropped. I was like, dang. Now, if it was any more risque, it wouldn't be on. We would have a situation like it was cut it lower. I can't do that, But she does have a body, so it ain't going nowhere. Can't wear paper bags. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's being a freak of the sheets. That was a work of progress with us. Like we went through a lot. She had past traumas. I did as well from childhood, and that dynamic when you have two people that have been abused in childhood, you come into ideas are wrong. You know what I mean? And just things are happening, but finding that healthy way to be modest outside and throw down inside. Look, I've been trying to tell people, listen, Lee, what you heard about marriage is wrong. You gotta wear each other out. Don't go to church and missionary, go home a bit, go home and let loose, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you go outside, yeah, be respectable and show people the part of you that they're allowed to see. Yeah. They don't need to see at home, out. Period. That's just how I feel about it. Home is home, out is out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think. No, I'm sorry. It's right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Uh, for me, I'm kind of like him. Men by nature we're territorial. You know, it's just like if you raising cows, you're going to have so many bulls in one pasture. You know, with zebras, if they come across another zebra as pregnant, they stress the zebra out to it miscarry. That's in our nature. However, when we see our lady step up, wearing something nice but it's still modest, we love it because one of the misconceptions women think uh, that the more they show, the more sex they look. That's not true. If they wear something that's modest but yet very classy, a man will undress you, and a lot of times he will undress you probably better than what you actually look. Your imagination is something else. But going on with the respect and things of that nature, um, yeah, about being a freak in the sheets. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, we want that, but for a woman to lead with that, that's something that turns us away. Like if we were playing around, you know, yeah, sure, but time to be serious, we don't choose those women. Think about the women that's been wifed up. It's not those freaking. It's not the Sukianas. It's not none of those women. They're good times, not a long time.
Well, Cardi B did get married.
Yeah, who's she there?
Well, no, it's she right. And the worst now.
Yeah, I had a revelation one day. It was just random. Some girl was trying to hit on me, and she was like, "Oh, I can do this and I can do that." I was like, young lady, you don't understand something. Some grown man at this point, whatever you could offer me it would be a toy to me. It would be throwaway.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be. See, I'm married. I know what a wife can do for me. What you're trying to offer me is something that it brings out the dog in a man. It doesn't bring out the man in a man. It brings out the worst of a man. And I was kind of like, you shouldn't even be offering this. That should be your vibe, like to the public. You know what I'm saying? I had another girl. I wouldn't even went to it behind the counter, like in the kitchen, yelling at me for. I was like, you don't understand. What you just you when you a freak in the sheets, that's what you lead with. A man, the dog in a man will say, okay, I'll bite that, but I'm leaving right there. Because what dogs do, they hump and they leave. And the reality that a lot of women, they don't know that a man is like literally, it's just a transaction. I'm humping, I'm leaving.
yeah.
But when there's some allure to them, when there's some depth to them, I don't need to see everything. You can tell a lot about a woman that's covered up versus a woman, because you expose. Brain can't be that big if everything else is uncovered. There must not be much up there to uncover. That's how I feel about it.
So that leads me to my last two questions. One of them for the ladies. How important in this social age is it that you have the passcode to his phone or passwords to social media? Would you need that? Do you want that?
I no. I think it just is. I think it's situational. It just depends on what's going on. But like for years, I think we've always had passcodes to our phones, to each other's phones, and um my password to my phone unlocks my social media, so he can get on my stuff anytime. And I was able to get on his. So
Yes, you got to limit. Yeah.
and so it was just like, well, yeah, yeah, but no, it. I think with with social media, because when we got married, I think I had Black Planet, and
Wasn't that bad. It was 2006. I mean, it was like,
well, it was Black Planet and Facebook. People, well, I remember Black Planet.
Sounds like
No, well, I don't know. Maybe I didn't have it. Either way, I was on something. And it's just different because the way that people approach other people now is differently. I guess it's just different. To me, social media is just overrated. And you have people who, you got everybody on there. It's not like you can go to a certain place and these are the type of people I'm around business people. But social media is different. You got everybody. So you got the ones that don't care if you married. You got the women who, just are everywhere. And for me, I just like to have my space protected, and he's mine. And so whatever I got to do to keep mine is what I do. So like for us, it's I don't know. It just works, I guess.
I don't have social media.
Yes, and that's what works.
No.
Oh, you not know?
Whatever you see on social media is old. Very old. I don't have
It works.
shit to do. I don't miss music because I got nothing to be. Yeah.
For me, like he has my password. I know his little pattern to his phone and everything. But I feel like I don't have to check out anything at this in particular moment. But if I need to, I have the ability to. Like if he shows me a reason to, or if somebody's coming to me and I'm like, okay, well, let me verify. But like in this age with social media, like they were saying, like now I do go through, like when he makes a post and he'll get like a lot of engagement, or if he posts a picture of himself, I will go through those comments and like make sure it's like, oh, sexy, nothing like that. But, or I'll be like, who is this person? But other than that, unless there's a reason for me, that's when I'll use the password that I know the pattern and everything. So, but he has a presented reason.
I leave my phones laying around. Like
Yeah.
half the time, I don't even know where they at. And most of the time, like, who's calling me is, her parents. Her dad in particular. We share things, but no, I have no reason to to her phone. Like I said, this time, I trust her, and I do think, to a certain extent, everybody needs their own privacy. And I also think, no matter how long you're with the person, you'll never 100% know that person. Uh, like Craigslist killer, his wife to this day thinks that, was so shocked that he was doing that because, you lived in his neighborhood, you were good. He was his neighborhood leader. He's a, crime watcher and everything else. Then outside neighborhood, it's a problem.
Okay.
But no, I mean, I have nothing to hide, I say I don't think she has nothing to hide. I mean, matter of fact, I know she has something to hide. We're very open with each other. So no, I don't think that's a necessity to have that. It's like, for instance, bank accounts. She has on her own bank accounts. I have my own bank accounts, or we have a joint. And one of my things, I don't care what she buys with her money. I just encourage her to save.
I'm a saver.
Yeah, I am a save.
I'm a saver. Yes, I'm a spender.
Yeah, so we have to, real things.
I'm doing better. Doing better.
So in closing, home, because you guys have been married for as long as you have, what advice would you give for a newly committed relationship that if you could have done it over and did it better, what would you say to somebody who's about to start a committed relationship? Both from your perspective.
Want to go first? Where we go first? There's a couple things. One, I don't care how smart you are or what you read and how right you do it, that's still gonna have problems. And I would say that approaching everything that happens with an attitude of no matter what, I'm gonna be kind. No matter what, I'm gonna be respectful. That's something people need to know. I believe that you should never give up who you're called to be just because you're married. Yeah, you might have to reposition things. You might have to do it a different way, but you should never say okay to somebody who demands that you don't live out your calling.
Mhm.
You should never say, okay, and you should never blame somebody for not living out your calling. And I would say probably one of the biggest things is who you surround yourself with. Like when you're married, you don't even hang out with singles. It doesn't. You're not walking the same direction. When when you have a belief system together, regardless of how crazy it might seem to me, your belief system is your belief system. Do that. Don't let anybody else create a new belief system for you and they create division. Well, I believe this, you believe that, so we're not together anymore. But I think the last thing for me is one of the biggest things that we went through is I got really distracted with life, business. I let an emotional situation with another female come into my household. And what was worse than anything else was probably not being aware of how selfish you can be, how prideful you could be, and how controlling you could be when your pride is getting beat up, your ego is smashed, your selfishness ain't working because there's nothing left to take. And now you have to try to make amends. For me, though, that still points back to, I mean, who you're around. You got to have somebody you got to have people you can tell the truth to.
Yeah.
And be okay when they say, all right, you're wrong. 'Cause I called everybody, about my situation, and they were like, you're wrong. You're wrong. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, I got good people in my life. I've reached back out to those people and said, thank you. So I wouldn't walk it casually. I'd be really precise about everything I'm gonna do. If I'm gonna be married, if I had to do it again, I'm gonna be precise about everything. I'm not gonna just just throw caution to the wind. We're gonna just live. Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, that's a bull crap. That's some TV, social media. No, you got to do the work and be precise about what you invested, precise about what we do when you harvest it. There is no time in a marriage where you can be casual. Like, not saying that you can't be casual, but you got to be for real. Day one to the end, all the minutes, you know what I mean? All the months, and when it doesn't happen, because it's not going to happen every time, all the time, but you got to have that intention. You really do. That's probably.
I'll say that, okay, if I had to give advice to the woman first, I would say, or to both sides, look at the family dynamic, because that was one thing that kind of steered me toward him. I knew his mom, his dad. I knew how he was raised. I knew that it wouldn't interfere with how we were gonna get along. We had the same ideas about family. We both had the same, I guess, religion. We were both Christians, so I knew that would work. The thing about being unequally yoked, that's in all parts of your life, not just in Christianity. That's in finances. Like, how do you want to, goals. I mean, you might have different habits and spending, but can you come to this common goal? What are your future goals? You want to go not just, 5 years, is really 10 years down the road, 15 years. What do they think about kids? How many kids you want to have? When do you want to start? I mean, if I could go and start now, I could come up with a book with thousands of questions, because there's so many questions I think about now. It's like, oh, I never asked them that. Like, we never thought about when we wanted to start having kids. We were just having kids. It was like, oh, I'm pregnant, and if I could start over now, I would say I would have waited maybe a year or two so we could spend time together.
We did talk about how to start a business and start a marriage.
Yeah.
What that does,
Yeah.
you gonna just do it.
Yeah. So I would say that. I would also say, um, not to not expect perfection, because there's some ideas, like, I know you were talking about your dad, and like my dad to me is Like he is like he had I was like, my dad did this, my dad took out the trash, my dad did this, he pumped my gas, and I never told him that, but I was expecting that. And I'm like, when he wouldn't go in to pump my gas and I was on E, I was like, dude, what's wrong? What's wrong with this picture? I'm internally, I'm like stressed and upset and frustrated when it he never knew. So like these expectations that we have for the other spouse, so a man or your wife or whatever, to actually express those ahead of time. Like, this is what my dad did. Are you like that? Just these little things that you don't think of because those little things can cause some problems.
Add something.
Yeah.
I noticed that women are building their idea of marriage from a young age. A lot of women, especially from a 2-parent home, they build that idea. Men, boy, we're not building a marriage idea. We're outside, not taking a bath, go to school, play sports, eat. You know what I mean? Nobody tells us anything about marriage. And then we get married, we're like, oh, you want all this, you want that, I got to do this, I got to do that. Nobody tells us that, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
But yeah, so I would say, just make sure you outline everything. Even I saw my husband as being this, even if it's just childish like that. This is what I saw, and if he's like, that's not, who I am, then y'all can talk about it. It might be a compromise, but I don't know. I just said, don't go in it with what your own thoughts, just go in it and lay everything out that you can think of, your non-negotiables, what you can compromise on, and just put it before each other and just, start that way.
Well, thank you guys so much. I think a lot of people are going to learn from this, from you. Hopefully we can all learn from each other. So that concludes our interview.